Greetings, viewers and listeners. This is StephenGray here. You are watching or listening to the YouTube and Anchor.fm audio podcast called Stephen Gray Vision. And I'm delighted to be here again today. This is the fifth interview in the series. The first four are in order with Christopher M. Bache, Dennis McKenna, Michael Stewart Annie, and Françoise Bourgeat. And by the time you see this one, they will all be available. And so there's much to learn from these. The whole purpose of this series is to share information and inspiration that can help with humanity that needs a radical consciousness change. The Bishop Desmond Tutu once said that people need to believe in the possibility of possibility. And if we don't, what are we doing here on the planet? He didn't say that part. I did. Yes. I'm going to introduce my guest in a moment. I just want to give you a heads up. My guest, Padrinho Paulo Roberto, is in a rural location in Brazil where the internet connection is not particularly stable. What you're going to see is probably a relatively poor video quality and a delay. So this is the best we're going to be able to do. I can't see it being better at another time. So I just ask you to be patient and put up with that because I believe the information is going to be remarkable. So without further ado, one other thing I want to say, in case I forget to say it at the end, dear viewers and listeners, is that the people that actually know about these matters tell me that if you subscribe to these channels, this remarkable information becomes more readily accessible to people. So I'm hoping that you will consider at least subscribing to Stephen Gray Vision YouTube channel and or Anchor.fm podcast. So without further ado, as they say, I'm now going to read a bio for my guest. Padrinho Paulo Roberto Silva e Souza is one of the foremost English-speaking authorities on the psycho-spiritual work of Amazonian communities. Trained as a classical psychologist, he has a degree in psychology from the University Gama Filho in Rio de Janeiro. He first encountered Santo Daime in 1976. Working for the Brazilian government in Amazonia, he began his lifelong study of the psychological and spiritual effects plants of the rainforest have on communities of native people. In 1985, he played an important role with the Brazilian government to ensure the protection and legalization of Santo Daime and its use of ayahuasca as a religious sacrament. In 1982, Padrinho Paulo became the head of the Seu do Mar Church in Rio de Janeiro and continued to develop his work integrating the science of mind with theology that spoke to the spirit. Since his first lecture at Harvard University about 20 years ago, Padrinho Paulo Roberto has been invited to universities and conferences around the world to share his knowledge of Christian spirituality and plant medicines. He recently presented at a Google Tech Talk, this may be a little less than recent now, this bio is a year or two old, on the threats to the ecosystem of the Amazon rainforest, speaking about the use of sacramental plants and spiritual teachings of the Yuwanawa tribe and the Santo Daime communities in Brazil. He is also a keen advocate for the support and preservation of indigenous traditions and teachings. So, I'm really delighted, honored to have Padrinho Paulo Roberto with me today from his home in the wilds or the rural areas of Brazil. Welcome, Padrinho Paulo.
Thank you. Thank you, Stephen.
Yes, delighted to speak with you again and to see you again. Padrinho Paulo and I know each other a little bit, and I'll say quite frankly that he's one of my favorite people, very wise, very intelligent, and with, on the appropriate occasions, a delightful sense of humor. Um, I'd like to just get right into it. We have a number of topics that I would like to ask you about to share with people. And since Santo Daime has been mentioned in the introduction a couple of times, perhaps you would be kind enough to, I'm assuming most people who are going to watch and listen to this interview do not know much of anything or perhaps anything at all about the Santo Daime. So I'm wondering if you could describe a little bit about it and perhaps why you got into it and so on.
Okay, Santo Daime. Well, ayahuasca has, I believe, that 42 names in the big Amazonia. It's more the northwest of Amazonia. And according to oral tradition, ayahuasca comes from the Incas. It's a Quechua word. Was used in the past by the Incas. And when the Spanish arrived in what now is Peru, there was two princes in the empire. One was Atahualpa and his brother Ayahuasca. Atahualpa was kidnapped by the Spanish and he was executed. Ayahuasca, his brother, according to the oral tradition, escaped to Machu Picchu. That was discovered 400 years later. And he take all the knowledge, the sacred knowledge from the Incas to there. So after that, there was the how can I say that in English? The healer, the medicine man who used ayahuasca, that was called like a ayahuasquero. Used the ayahuasca in a shamanic way. This lasts for 400 years. In 1930, an Afro-Brazilian man, he took the ayahuasca, and then he had visionary experiences. He had visions. And the content of his visions were Christian. And based on this visionary experience, he received a doctrine that we call a religion. Religion, like the etymological name of the word religion, the religare, the reconnection between creature and creator. So he had all those visions, had very deep experiences, and like that he received everything about the doctrine, even this name, Daime. Daime in Portuguese means give me. So Santo Daime become like a Christian tradition in the Amazonia with the use of ayahuasca.
Okay, and how did you get involved?
Well, in 1975, I went to do mountain climbing in the Andes in Bolivia, and from there I had visions in that the mountains there near La Paz, Chacaltaya mountain, and in those visions I have, there was a call to go to Machu Picchu. I was like 25 years old, and then I went to Machu Picchu, and in Machu Picchu, I had a psychedelic experience in Machu Picchu, and there was a moment there in Machu Picchu that time, I don't know today, but in that time, 5 p.m., the guards of the sacred village there, they start to whistle, telling everybody to go, the moment to leave. And I was in the force. I was in a high visionary state, and I don't feel like living. So I climbed it to Huayna Picchu. Huayna Picchu is a peak that is in the town, you see, and I was intending to spend the night up there in the Temple of the Moon. And from there, I had a vision of the Incas. It was an Inca procession. And this name ayahuasca was coming. There was thought the ayahuasca was there. The spirit of ayahuasca was in that vision. And I didn't even know what that means. But so when I came back to Cusco, I started to look about ayahuasca. And I started to look about ayahuasca. And unfortunately, I could not find anything about it. But that stayed in my mind. What is ayahuasca? And then I heard that was a kind of a drink and was a kind of a visionary, with a visionary effects. I got very interested about that. I was a psychologist that time, and I was really exploring the boundaries of the mind, you know, the Freudian iceberg about ego, super ego, id, and how to go beyond the borders of awareness, how to expand awareness. And I had this intuition that this medicine could help. 1 year later, I was hired as a psychologist to work in the state of Acre in the Brazilian Amazonia. And was there that I met Santo Daime.
Right. Wonderful. Thank you for sharing that bit of information. I love that story about the vision at Machu Picchu. What, by the way, what was the sacramental medicine that you took there that provided those visions?
Luz in the sky with diamonds.
Yes, I know her a little bit. Yeah, wonderful.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
The golden time for that medicines.
So, have you ever? I wanted to ask you about some of the differences between the Santo Daime way of working with ayahuasca, or as you call it, Daime, and the what you might call the mestizo tradition of the Upper Amazon, the shamanic tradition. I don't know if you've ever done, been a participant in any ceremonies like that. It's very different. I've done Santo Daime ceremonies and those other, and in that style of working, people generally lie down on a mattress in great darkness in a maloca, and there's little formal ritual other than the ayahuasquero himself or herself occasionally producing music, singing songs, and that sort of thing. Whereas the structure of the Santo Daime works is very, very different. Do you have any feeling about the meaningful differences, or how do you feel about that other way of working? And I ask that in particular because it's much better known up in North America and Europe than, or more people are involved with ayahuasca in those ways than they are with Santo Daime, at this point at least.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do you
Yeah.
have any thoughts or...
Yeah, I'll say, I never drank ayahuasca. I drank uni. Uni is how ayahuasca is called by the Awanawa people, indigenous people in the Amazon. I took uni already. But ayahuasca with ayahuasquero in an ayahuasca ritual, I don't have any experience about it. but for what I know, is a little different, you see, because I'll say the intention basically is the same intention. The intention, it's about opening the mind, opening vision, uh, connected to the spirit, connected to the divine within, you see. This is a very important point that we can even talk later if you want. Mm-hmm. About the difference, I would say, what is the identity of the medicine. Because since the beginning they called it, what this was hallucinogenic. 100 years later from this classification, they create a new term that entheogenic, you see. So there's a difference there, but entheogenics mean the awakening of the divine within. So I believe that this awakening happens in the ayahuasca tradition, ayahuasca ceremonies, and it happens too at Santo Daime works that we don't call ceremony, we call work, we call a spiritual work. And it's different because of the structure. As you said, usually in the ayahuasquero, people lay down, and the ayahuasquero start to sing the Icaros, that are the ayahuasca songs, and they are kind of guiding songs. So that happens like that. In the Santo Daime, no. In the Santo Daime, we pray. We pray Our Father, Hail Mary, to establish a connection. Then we drink the medicine. And after that, we start to sing hymns, hymns that are not composed. They are received during the visionary experience. The visionary experience is not only visual, but it's audio too. You can hear. So I already had this experience. I have a inario. Inario is a group of hymns. I have 4 inarios. I received maybe more than 200 songs already. And so we pray, we drink the medicine, and we start to sing hymns. After that, we do what we call concentration. It's a silence time. It's a silence time, and as far as when I lead the ceremony or the work, I used to say some words. I used to do some guided meditations during this time of concentration, and after that we drink a second time, and we go almost for the same thing. We keep singing, we do the concentrations, and we took a third time. Usually the works, you have 3 dosages, you drink 3 times, and then we close. After that, we close the work with the prayers. It's very important know how to open. It's very important know how to close. The same way that's very important to know how to take off, and it's very important to know how to land. So basically the structure of the work or the ceremony is different from ayahuasca and Santo Daime. But what happens about healings, encounters with yourself, reconciliations, knowledge about the spiritual world and the divine, connection and contact and encounters with the spirits of nature. It happens. It happens in both ways. The kind of effect, it happens. And it's basically that is about the opening of the perception and expansions of awareness.
Beautifully put. Thank you so much. You have worked with a lot of people, or you have led many ceremonies now, and I'm wondering if people, for example, even if they're not part of the, either, I think some people who are going to watch this are going to be part of the Santo Daime Church, and others will have worked with ayahuasca in other ways, and some people may just be generally interested. And I'm wondering, having seen, no doubt, many people go through these experiences for years and years now, many of your followers or students or whatever you call them. Uh, I'm just wondering, what are the kinds of challenges that you have seen people go through? I'm sure there are points where there are obstacles. I've noticed that some people drop out occasionally. They run into a roadblock and they don't want to go farther. And I'm just wondering what kind of advice you would give to people based on your experience about how to negotiate the long-term path, as it were, of working with Daime, whether it be, outside of, as what you call ayahuasca, or whether it's with the Daime in the church context. Does that question make sense?
Yes, of sure, because this it happens, Stephen. Basically, is about the choices. You see, when you decide to drink ayahuasca or Santo Daime, you are making a choice. And what kind of choice it is to open an entire path of self-knowledge. And the self-knowledge happens how? Through awareness expansion. Awareness starts to expand. And expands to where? Expands to subconscious and unconscious levels. In a way that unconscious become conscious. When unconscious become conscious, self-knowledge happens naturally. See? And of course, this needs a kind of availability to face yourself. If you're making these choices because you want to have a special encounter with you in a special state of awareness. And of course, the resistance shows up. Mm-hmm. And basically shows up through fear and doubt. Fear and doubt are almost considered the guardians of the gate. They are there to scare people. They are there to stop people to enter, you see. So need some faith and courage, you see. There's a way to face the fear, to experience the fear, and create courage, you see. And to see what happens. And doubt is there to make it block, you see, to block the process. Mm-hmm. So you can even say to yourself, "No, I overcame the fear. I create courage. I am here opening. I'm facing myself. So I think the fear is gone now." And then doubt comes. You really think so? You think so that doubt, the fear is really gone? You know what I mean? Doubt comes with a lot of undermining questions, you see, to try to obstruct the process somehow. So you need to be prepared for that, and how to overcome, how to continue, how to cross that over, because these are layers. These are kind of subconscious layers stopping you to enter in the realm of your own unconscious. That's why this for us is a religious work, because if you try to do that by yourself, it's not so easy. Mm-hmm. You can get lost very easily. The fear can come and really freeze you, and then you leave and you feel like running away. Or the doubt comes with a lot of questions and starts to be entangled with that, and you find a kind of ego labyrinth that is very difficult to get out, you see. So the way we do, in my own experience, is connecting to the divine. See, there's a moment in the self-knowledge path that I really need to connect it myself with the divine, with the cosmos. See? Even because when I transcend my ego, I connected to my cosmic self. And when I am in my cosmic self, I acknowledge that I have a cosmic father, I have a cosmic celestial mother, and I can meet my cosmic master. That for me is Jesus Christ. And from this union between creature and creator, I receive what I need to cross it over. See? The courage, the sensibility, the intelligence, the personal power, the determination, the calm, the patience, the trust, the hope, all of what I need to continue in the journey, I receive from the divine in that very moment.
Wow, beautifully put. Thanks so much. So you mentioned a little earlier something about that we could talk a bit more about the visionary component of it. You know, you've just referred to, the Holy Father, God, and things like that. So, I mean, I don't know how to put this exactly, but how does one know that they're in touch with God? I mean, I guess you just know when it happens. But I mean, like, for example, let me put it.
Yeah,
I was going to say, let me
please.
put it like this. Um, I spent a long time studying Tibetan Buddhism, studying and practicing Tibetan Buddhism. And Buddhism considers itself a non-theistic religion. And when they say non-theistic, they basically mean that there's no, in a sense, no savior outside of yourself. And I think you would probably agree with that in principle, that we each have to do our own work. But at the same time, they sort of discourage people from, in a sense, thinking that there's anything that you might call a god. Do you know anything about that view or that understanding? And is it in conflict or disagreement with your recognition of the divine?
No, I think that it's a cultural. It's more like a cultural thing, and different cultural contexts. You see, because I'll say from what I know from God comes from my experience.
Mm-hmm.
See, what I know from God is not something that I read in a book or I heard someone saying. Come from my true visionary experiences. That's the point that we're going to talk about hallucinogenic and entheogenic. You see, but basically, I was in the, yeah, it was my first time. My first time that I took Santo Daime, I have mystical experiences that I met God. I met God inside myself, but not only inside myself. I met God in everything. You see, I had this experience about the omnipresence of the divine in everything. I could see everything, looking inside, looking outside, looking up, looking down, even look to the light, look into the darkness, looking everywhere. I see, I could experience the God's existence. God's existence.
Mm-hmm.
This comes from my true visionary experiences. And that's the point, because for me, those visionary experiences are not hallucinations. To call that hallucinations would be, again, like a cultural denialist offense. Mm-hmm. Because several religions, they come from visionary experiences. Even Buddha, if you say Buddha, when he was enlightened, that was that big snake over him, protecting him and talking to him, he was having a hallucination.
No.
Moses at the burning bushes, hearing the voice of God and receiving the tablets of law, was he having a hallucination? Muhammad meeting the Virgin Mary and San Gabriel in the heights of the heavens and receiving an entire doctrine that lasts till today. He was hallucinating. He was in an hallucinatory state. Saint Francis at the 12th century in Italy, when he met with Jesus Christ, that show up to him as a cherubim angel with 3 pairs of wings. He was having a hallucination. If you say that is hallucinating, these guys were hallucinating, you're offending Muslims, Buddhists, Catholics, or Christians, or Jewish. You know what I mean? So I'll say, this takes us to the kind of human rights and I'll say, religious freedom. Religious freedom is one of the pillars of human rights. That is who holds the space for democracy. You see, and the right to believe is one of the pillars of religious freedom. So 1 billion Catholics has the right to believe in the visions of Saint Francis. The same thing for the Muslims, for the Jewish, for the Buddhists. These people, they have a religious freedom. They have the right to believe in the visionary experiences of these people who receive the religion, or at least empower very much their religion, as it happens with Saint Francis. So for me, those visions are not hallucinations. See, they are visions, and that's the context where we bring Aldous Huxley. Aldous Huxley in our culture at last century was the one who brought up the concept of the visionary experience. That's very different from hallucinatory state. I am a psychologist. I worked years and years in psychiatry hospitals with psychotics, and I know, I saw how people behave in a hallucinatory state. The first thing, they don't have time-space reference. Usually, if you interview somebody who's hallucinating, you just ask, what day is today, and where are you? They cannot answer. The guy say, I am Napoleon, I am in Waterloo. You know? So there's a lack of time-space reference. There's a lack even of identity reference. And they don't know how to tell who they are. See? Another feature of hallucinatory state is the difficult communication, a dialogue. It's almost impossible to dialogue with somebody who is having hallucination. You see, the person never answers what you're asking. There's not a line in the thoughts or in the words. The thoughts are very fragmented. The speech too is very fragmented, and all those features they don't show at the visionary state. That's why French scientists in the 90s they came to revisit the concept of ayahuasca being hallucinogenic, and they looked for hallucinations and didn't find. You see, there was no record of visual or audio hallucinations. You see, the record was about visions that you have with your eyes closed. You see, that you can even interrupt the vision just opening your eyes. So what kind of hallucination is that? That you just opening the eyes and interrupt the hallucinatory state? So it didn't match one thing with the other. So I would say I'm very clear that the mystical revelations I received about God, not only about God, but in my case about the Virgin Mary, about Jesus Christ, about São Miguel, São Gabriel, São Rafael, spiritual guides, the spirits of nature, all of that I already experienced, for me they are real. They are real. Even for me, my personal opinion, they are more real than many things in the world of illusion that we live.
Mm. Wow. Yeah, well, that was the question I was going to ask you if you didn't just answer it, which you did, which is that, I think, again, in these so-called modern worlds, very few people have had these kinds of visionary experiences unless they've taken some of these kinds of medicines in the right kind of context. But what you're saying is that these, what you might call ancestral beings or beings of the astral or the other world, they, even if they were embodied 2,000 years ago like Jesus Christ, they are actually here. They are here to help. They are here working with people, and you can contact them, correct?
Correct, correct. Contact them in a way. When you establish this connection, you start to have inside of you what you may call the Christic consciousness. You see, you receive, if you receive Jesus Christ as a guest, you have the Christic presence inside of you. Is like the, don't know how to say that in English, but it's like the reborn master, the resurrected master. It wakes inside of you, and you start to have an interaction with the master in a daily basis.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
For me, becomes a reference.
Mm-hmm. Excellent.
It's a reference for me.
Mm-hmm. By the way, for people who are seeing this interview rather than those who are only hearing it, there's I don't know if it's a photograph or a painting, but a representation of the image of Padrinho Sebastião right behind you. Could you just make a brief reference for people of who he is or was?
Yeah, Padrinho Sebastião was the successor of Mestre Irineu. Mestre Irineu was who received the Santo Daime doctrine in 1930, and he passed it in 1971. Padrinho Sebastião was his successor. You see, Padrinho Sebastião was the one who expanded Daime from Amazonia to Brazil and the entire world. You see. And I had the honor to meet him. I had the honor even to marry with his daughter. I have the honor to be, I'll say, his apprentice. And for me, he was my teacher. He's still my teacher. Even he passed away. Padrinho Sebastião passed away in 1990. 30 years ago. Mm-hmm. But for me, he continues to be alive, and I continue to communicate with him.
Mm-hmm. So there are a couple more topics I'm hoping you will expound upon here. They might be related. You have spoken before about how, I guess one simple way of putting it is, you've already done some good elucidation in this interview on what the awakening journey involves. But of course, it's not just about one's own personal awakening. You are very attuned to and very concerned about the state of the planet. And I wonder if you could speak a little bit about, you've spoken about this before, and I'd like to hear you say for this venue a little bit more about how people, what kind of action and activity do people need to do? Because we're in, as you've very clearly said yourself before, in deep doo-doo, you might say. We're, the planet is in a very, very dangerous trajectory right now. And so it's not just about, by any means, healing oneself. It has to go far beyond that. And I wonder if you could talk a little bit about, how you see people needing to get engaged with the world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. This is about this one more gift of the visionary experiences, for me with Santo Daime, and it happens with my padrinho too. My padrinho Sebastião, in the 70s, had visions about the big fires in Amazonia, and in the 70s there was no big fires yet. You see, but he saw everything burning. Everything was burning. The entire forest burning, and cattle coming, trucks coming. I would say the progress from the west coming and destroying everything. So cattle ranching, so this kind of soybeans, extensive fields, mining. He saw all of that, and that 10 years later, that starts to happen. So 10 years later, it starts to happen, and it's happening so till now. You see, now we are in a very extremely difficult time, and we need to do whatever we can to save the planet. Each person needs to be an activist. Activism for the planet is for everyone who is alive right now. See, we need really to do something, because the way it's going, I'll say something that I'm working very much even to acquire to myself and share what I'm acquiring is about adaptability. We need to develop skills of adaptability for the very hard times that are coming now. That the coronavirus is just one touch from Gaia. See, unfortunately, human beings became hostile to the planet. So they are receiving their change, back. The planet starts to be hostile to humans, see, because we are affecting very seriously life support systems as temperature, water, and air that allows life to exist here in this planet. And this has been severely abused and destroyed and mistreated. There's no respect. There's no respect at all. You see. So it's very sad to see what's going on when we see another life species much more adapted and much more better developed to survive than humans. Humans in the survival scale, they're inferior to ants, to scorpions, to spiders, even to trees, to flowers, you know what I mean?
Yes.
All the other life doesn't tread the earth. Is the contrary, their existence supports the balance of our ecosystems, but humans know. So Gaia sent the first antibody to this species that's threatening the life in our planet, and this is coronavirus, you see. And for me, this is just the beginning. The next 20 years will be really hard. And I believe that from 2040 on, several systems of living here on Earth will start to fail, even agriculture. The lack of water, the temperature, the droughts, you see, starts to threat the existence of life on the Earth, you see. The way the destruction is going, Stephen, Amazonia can last only for the next 50 years. In 2070 on, can become a big savanna. And Amazonia, big as it is, you see that it goes from New York to Vancouver, the extension of the forest. See, if that becomes a savanna, nobody will stop global warming anymore. So we need to do whatever we can, you see, not only to stop the destruction, but to adapt it to the new times. You see, the Inuit, he doesn't wait for the blizzard to start to build his igloo, When the blizzard comes, he's already inside the igloo, very protected, It's the same thing. We need to build environmental igloos, you see, even to transmit solutions for the next generations. I would say next generations are already, I would say, there's a whole existential anguish, you see, in the young people now. They're seeing life fade away in front of themselves, you see. Many of them, they don't think about having children, you see, because there's no possibilities. So something really needs to be done. And that's the thing that comes from our vision, because I'm a son of God, if I am a son of my mother Earth, I need to do something to defend my mother. I cannot stay just watching. I cannot stay only, I'll say, being sad or depressive because of the states of the things now. It is a call for action. There's a call for action in the astro. Whoever, if you consider yourself as the children of Mother Earth, you need to do something to defend your mother.
So, thank you very much for that, although I have to say it made me sad, and judging by the sounds of the birds that we heard, they got your message as well. Uh, but I'm wondering if you could say, be a little more specific even about, have you seen the kinds of activism that can change things? That's one question. And the related question
Sure.
is can you be a little more specific about what you mean by, I get the general principle of what you mean by adaptability, but you talked about environmental igloos, and are there particular kinds of things that you see people needing to do in terms of both of those things, activism and adaptability?
Yes, we do. I just want to ask you a little break because the computer here is running out of battery and the charger is not working. I need to put another charger. Can we have a little break?
Okay, maybe I need to sing a song or something. I haven't dealt.
Please.
We can edit it out and cut it in, I guess. I'm not a masterful editor, but I'm sure we'll figure out some way to do that. So
Please.
sure.
Yeah, two
I'll,
minutes. It's
yeah.
like 2 minutes. I just need to get a charger here. One sec, please.
Okay, sure. Well, I don't know about you folks, but I hope you are not impressed. That's not really the word. Taken, moved, inspired by the kinds of things that Paulo is saying. Padrino Paulo. By the way, I don't know whether I always thought it was pronounced Padrinho, but he seemed to be pronouncing the word Padrino. I'm not too good in Portuguese. Conozco un poco de español, pero ningún no Portuguese to speak of. But this man knows what he's talking about. It's from experience, obviously, and the visions. And I really thought that was remarkable what he was saying about the difference between hallucinations, or something that you just make up in your imagination, and an actual vision. It's very powerful work. Let me see. I see a shadow. He may be back already. Um, I'm going to. I'm going to have a couple more questions, and maybe I don't know if Padrino Paulo can hear me now, but maybe I'll introduce you, the viewers and listeners, to this next question I'm going to ask while we are waiting. There is a tribe of people deep in the Amazonian jungle of Brazil known as the Yuwanawa, and Padrino Paulo has had a long relationship with the Yuwanawa. Have you heard what I just said, Padrino? Can you hear me now?
I just heard you.
Yeah. Uh, well, okay, so I don't want,
Already.
good, excellent. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself here because I was telling the viewers I was just beginning to say something about your connection with the Iwanawa, but it might be, I do want to ask
Okay.
you, I do want to ask you about them, but I had just asked you two fairly specific questions when you told me you needed to take that break, and they were, could you be more specific with people about the kinds of both two things, the kinds of activism and the kinds of adaptability that you might suggest?
Okay. Well, uh, in the 80s, I worked very hard to legalize Santo Daime in Brazil. I was the head of a scientific commission that we worked for Brazilian government to study Santo Daime. This took 5 years, and we could legalize, proving from the anthropological, sociological, psychiatry, psychological, medical, from several scientific perspectives, we could show that Santo Daime was not a drug, was a medicine, a traditional medicine. At this time, it was in the 80s, I start the destruction start in Amazonia. The fires and everything. We are in the forest. We start to feel in our back the heat of the fires, and we saw the destruction coming. So we did the work ceremonies to have the understanding, even to get a conclusion that we are supposed to burn together with the trees there, or we could do something about it. And what was the solution for this big trouble? And the solution that we received by intuition, by revelation, was a vision about how generous our mother forest is, how generous the jungle is, you see, through the mega diversity of species. So I'll say we develop something we call extractive reserve, when you can just extract it, a sustainable extraction of natural, renewable resources. That like that, you can create jobs, you can have economic activity, you can have social inclusion, you can have environmental protection without cutting just one tree. And I was invited to speak about that at Harvard Speech Series. And from there, they make some connections to United Nations Environmental Program, UNEP, that's based in New York City at United Nations. And I was invited there to present the solutions. Everybody was looking for solutions. The problem everybody knows, but solutions, practical solutions. So I present these solutions there, and the United Nations helped me with the Brazilian government, and we could start to create extracted reserves in the Amazon. You see, big reserves like 1.5 million acres, and from there we start to work about conservation and preservation of the forest. When I met the Awanawa, I see the same problem. See, we have a giant problem in Amazonia. See, just for one example, the Yanomami people, that their reserves is really big. It's bigger than European countries. And now, at this very moment, we have 20,000 miners invading the reserve, you see, with the blind eye of the government. You see, that somehow even stimulate these people to invade the indigenous reservations. And extermination is happening right now. So I received a healing at the Awanawa village from my health. And I became extremely grateful. My heart overflowed of gratitude. Then I'm doing whatever I can to preserve that, you see. And mainly what we have is to preserve, my focus now is about preserve the medicines. With the mass extinction, Stephen, we don't know how many medicines we are losing per day. And it's not only about the medicines, but it's about the knowledge about those medicines that were developed during the last 10 millenniums. During the last 10 millenniums, the indigenous of the Amazons developed an entire system about knowledge in all the plants and their use, for what they are for. And this is a biological treasure that is just burning. Is burning in front of our eyes. So what I'm doing right now is to develop this kind of environmental igloo that's here in Guananche, where I am, south of Bahia. I live in a sanctuary. And here we going to develop like a retreat center. When we bring the shamans from the Amazon, we already brought them here. They make a forest inventory in our jungle. Just in 3 weeks, they found more than 300 species of medicinal plants that can be used for treatment for people. So what we are doing right now is to empower indigenous villages giving them sustainability, and sustainability based on these main three factors, that is environmental protection, social inclusion, and local economic development. They need that to survive. So, and how? Using the great value of the forest. The great value of the forest is not about woods. It's not about mining or, or agriculture. The main value is medicinal value. In the mega diversity, there's healing there for almost everything, you see. And there is something that I see that being lost there. Being lost is a humankind patrimony. Is a healing humankind patrimony that are being destroyed in front of our eyes. So what we are doing, we are trying to preserve and help the old shamans that are human encyclopedias about the forest. We are empowering the transmission of this knowledge. It's very important to preserve the knowledge about the medicines of Amazonia. We start to create a kind of, help students, help the young people there, you see, to receive the knowledge from the elders, you see, and preserve this knowledge through use. It's not enough to make a video or write a book or have computer files about the species or about this knowledge. The best way to preserve the knowledge is using that to heal. And that's what about Guananche here is. See, we are developing here a retreat center. When the Indians from Amazonia come, we receive visitors from all over, and these people come here to develop spirituality through the visionary experience and receive their healings through the treatments with the plants, with the sacred plants.
So that begs a fairly self-evident question, I suppose. What, if anything, in particular, can people who might be watching or listening to this interview do? People in other parts of the world to support this work. Is there a website? Can they contribute money, that kind of thing?
Yes, we have NGOs in Canada. For instance, in Vancouver, there's an NGO called Amazonia 911 that are doing a great job about that. They are connected with us to helping the indigenous people, the indigenous villages. Even we are doing that right now with the coronavirus. The coronavirus for the Indians is terrible. They don't have any kind of defense. Unless the medicines, because we already have cases of coronavirus healing using the medicines, indigenous medicines, is already happening that there. See, some Indians got healed from coronavirus using their own medicines. See, and in the United States, we have a Floresta project. That's an NGO in New York that is connected to what we are doing here. In Brazil, we have one we call Proteção that is in the same page. So we have some NGOs that we are working together and to develop those kind of projects. Later on, I don't have now with me, but later on I can give you better information about it, how people can connect it to that. But the best way to connect it to that is having the experience. See, is the best way. If people can come and have the experience through yourself, that being happening here with amazing results.
So they can come to your sanctuary?
Yes, they can come to our. We do retreats here. We do retreats here, like 9 days, 10-day retreats with the ceremonies with Santo Daime, with the meditations. We are in front of the ocean here in the forest. We have lakes, waterfalls. So we have a very beautiful spots in our sanctuary when we do our works. And this special plus, shamans from the Amazon. We fly them to here, and they do treatments for the people. So very important is through experience. If people can come here and have this kind of experience, they're going to receive everything they need to have inside themselves. They need to know, they need to understand, and even receive guidelines or guidance in their experiences about what to do at this very moment. Excellent. But something that's very clear, we need to save the Amazon. We need to save the Amazon for the sake of humankind. And we are doing that. Of course, like ants, like little ants. They're very small, carrying our leaves, but we are doing something.
Excellent. When we can do it, I'm going to get the links for all of these things, and I can put them on little tabs on the. Unfortunately, if you're just listening to this, you'll have to look elsewhere. But if you're watching this on YouTube, you will see that I've put up little tabs with the links to these different initiatives. So that's excellent. We've been pretty much an hour, but there's one other question I have really wanted to ask you because it's quite central to work I've been doing with cannabis as a spiritual ally or medicine. And I know that you have a strong connection with, you call it Santa Maria, but it's cannabis to many of us, or marijuana. And you understand this as a sacred plant. And I just wonder if you could perhaps make this our last question and answer, just to say a little bit about, why, how cannabis or Santa Maria is a sacred plant, and the kind of relationship that people should have with it to treat it that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can share some vision that I had. You see the situation now, that's very important, I think, people to know, even like a reference. See, we have traditional ways, you see, that we call the use of the medicines in like a religious use or a spiritual use. See, it is not a recreational. See, you take that medicine to connect yourself. You take that medicines to go to a ascended state of awareness, and from there you reach your higher self, and from your higher self you connect it to the divine. This is the typical religious use. And of course, from this connection comes several consequences about self-transformation, about healing, about reconciliation, and re-harmonization of yourself, of your life, of your place on the earth, of your place in the universe. This is one thing. The other thing that I'm seeing, even happening in Vancouver, that I'm delighted to see, is the study of psychedelics. This is a kind of almost like a dream coming true when I see drugs becoming the medicines. You see, people, instead of using in a recreational way, people are using like the mushrooms, the mescaline, LSD, MDMA, even the cannabis for healing. See? And it's been working very well, working really well, with the tremendous power of, to reach, to go beyond, of power of transcendence. And this is very healing. But unfortunately, in the middle between those two, the traditional way and the healing way, the medicine, because it is a spiritual use, but medicinal use. There's two basic ways. Unfortunately, in the middle, there's a big confusion. In the middle, I see many self-entitled shamans, almost like fake, using like fake medicines, or using the medicines in a way that instead of healing, are bringing very negative effects and very negative results, even psychotic breaks and everything. See? So it's very important that people who are being initiated know what you're going to do and who and for what's your purpose, what's your intention, how it happens, in a way that you can do really in a safe way. Safety is very important in this kind of visionary experiences, see? Because according to the sharing of people that come from our works, they talk very much about how safe they felt in our structure of our ritual, with the prayers, with the hymns, with the concentrations. There's a safe container there. And when people feel safe, they can surrender. And when they surrender, they can really go deep inside of themselves. And as deep they go, as higher they go later. Mm-hmm. They go deep for what? They go deep to work in our lower selves. Mm-hmm. And they work on that. Even if they unite to the divine, they receive from the divine the force, the understanding, the power that they need to do the necessary changes inside to heal something, see, or to release something, or to transform something in a way that they get more clear, they get more purified, and in this state of purification, there's a whole ascension movement that takes us to our higher self. And from there, we can connect it. From there, we can see it. From there, we can navigate. See? So safety is very important. And I can see safety in the religious use. I can see safety in the medicinal use, but I don't see any safety in this kind of, I don't know even how to say that, but in this kind of misuse of the medicines, even with the intention of earning money. There's a whole thing about money, medicines, and something that for me, I don't resonate with that at all. You know, this is not positive. So it's very important that we can preserve religious use that has centuries of tradition, and we can reinforce this new medicinal use of the psychedelics for healing.
Excellent, thank you. Well, I said I had one more question, but I do now want to ask you one final question. I don't know if it's a question
That's
you
okay.
can. I don't know.
Conversation.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a question you can answer or not, but maybe I could put it to you anyway. You mentioned earlier in our interview that way back in the 1970s, Padrino Sebastião had a vision of the future problems, the burning of the forest and so on. I'm wondering, you and others, many people have foreseen and now are seeing the results of this terrible misunderstanding of how to live on this planet. But I'm wondering if you've also received any visions that indicate that there's a good chance we may be able to figure this out and get through it and create a good world for the generations to come. Are you very optimistic about the possibilities?
No,
You're not.
I'm not to be with you. I'm not optimistic at all. I don't have any reason to be optimistic. You see, as far as I hear the way people are handling, the people who has the real decision power, you see, I don't see any results. You see, for 30 years already, since the ECO 92, as a United Nations Intergovernmental Conference in Rio in 1992, from now passing for the Kyoto Agreement, the Paris Conference, it's one meeting after the other and nothing happens. I don't see it taking any results. I don't see any positive results. You see, that's why I'm talking about adaptability. We need to really know how to adapt it for the new times that are coming. And they're already here. They're not coming. The destruction already happening. In a few years, we are going to have more plastic in the ocean than fishes. You see, In 50 years, maybe we lost the entire Amazon. The Arctics are melting. You see, so and the governments who are supposed to do something are not doing enough at all. See? So I think that that there's no way back now. You know, I'll say Gaia is already answering, and it seems that humans will learn through the hard way, through pain, through suffering. See? So it's very important this time that we can know how to adapt it to these new times, even creating, very important that we can work in the formation of a new mentality, mainly for the young people, to really come back to how it was in the beginning, where this so beautiful union. There was a so beautiful union between humans and nature. Now we used to live in a paradise. See? So it's a matter of rescue our primeval connection with nature, and this is something that we can do in our homes. This we can do is something that we can do working through environmental activism. You see, this is something that we can talk with our kids and starts to practice that within our houses, with our families and friends. You see, there's a whole new posture that needs to be, done, that needs to be assumed now here, you see, to protect what we can protect it and know what we can do about it. Each one has a mission. Each one has a mission. The mission is inside each one. Needs to discover. If you discover yourself, you see, you're gonna know what to do, because that's the great, problem with the humans. You know what I mean? It's about free will. The banana tree doesn't need to enter an identity crisis to figure out what will be the color of the banana or the size of the banana. It's already there. Yeah. And that works for crabs, for birds, for everybody. We know. We need to know who we are. Mm-hmm. That's what the Dalai Lama told me one time. To know what to do with the nature, we need to know who we are. Yeah. If we know who we are, we can know what to do, where to go, who to be with, and how to deal with nature. And just to close, that is a study that I do because I am astonished about what's happening. I suffer a lot. For me, it's a big pain. I feel really sad. I feel really disappointed with so much ingratitude, so much lack of respect for our mother. See, Gaia is a living organism. It's not a planet that we can abuse the way we are doing. You see, there's a lack of love, a lot of lack of love. You know, that's why it's so important that in the visionary we can know who we are. We can know where we are coming from, where are we going, and what we are doing. And we can answer those existential questions through the revelations we receive. See? So in this mode, I came with the 4 whys. I had 4 whys. See? The first why is about why humans cannot live in harmony with nature. This is a big, big question. Why? Humans can go to the moon. Humans can have quantum computers. Humans do miracles in the magical way. They do amazing things, but they don't know how to live in harmony with nature. Instead of living in harmony with nature, they're destroying. We are destroying our biological home. Why? And then it came the answer. The first because they cannot live in harmony with themselves. Mm. There's a big disharmony between humans. And this big disharmony is expressed through inequality. In this inequality scenario, you can see a minority abusing the earth with the sacrifice of the majority. So there's no harmony between humans. Mm-hmm. And then comes the second why. Why humans cannot live in harmony with each other? And then comes the second because they cannot live in harmony with themselves. Is in the relationship between you and yourself. When you see the big destroyers, you can see it from a psychological view. You can see they are really ill. You see those leaders. You see they are ill in a psychological way. They have a lot of problems in their relationship with themselves. Mm-hmm. And then comes the third why. Why they have humans have these problems in the relationship with themselves. You see. And then comes the third because they cannot live in harmony with the cosmos. You see. They cannot live in harmony with the cosmos. They can I call God, whoever wants called anyway, but I call the divine God, the creator, the creator. Humans cannot live in harmony with God, the creator. So this lack of harmony with the creation and the creator creates this disharmony between them and themselves. And they can live in harmony with their neighbor, and so they cannot live in harmony with nature. Guanche here, our main intention is a whole reharmonization process. Went through the healings, through the ceremonies, through the treatments, through the self-knowledge, through the development of our spirituality. You can rescue somehow the harmony between creature and creator. When you do that, you can reharmonize your relationship with yourself. And when you do that, you can reharmonize your relationship with the others. And if you do that, you reharmonize your relationship with nature. You can view in another way. For instance, the medicines, they develop very much in us this spirituality. Spirituality takes us to our own healing. Our own healing takes to the healing of the planet. And the healing of the planet is our own healing.
Beautiful. And what's the fourth why, or did you slip it in there without me noticing?
The first why, this always happens. I have always people asking. I allow people asking for that, even because in this, I used to give the question back. What do you think? Why you think? What will be the fourth why? The first why is why people cannot live in harmony with the divine. We lost the connection. Because we lost the connection. We are expulsed from paradise. You see. We killed our Father God. We are the environmental Greek Oedipus. Instead of being in harmony with the Creator, we killed the Creator. And now we are possessing the Mother, blind and feeling really guilty. Wow. So that's the human tragedy.
That's definitely a tragedy. Well, I personally don't think I could add anything more to this, these whys. These are wise, like W-I-S-E, wise. I think perhaps this is a good time to close up here. We've been talking for an hour and 20 minutes or so. It's been, for me personally, remarkable to hear you again share your insight and wisdom. You have so much of great importance to say, and you say it so well, and even more so because English isn't your first language. So I thank you very much, and I hope a lot of people will see this because it's central to what we're doing.
Okay.
Yeah, so
okay,
thank you.
Yes, great, Stephen. I want to thank you for this opportunity. And just to finish our conversation, I have an invitation for you, my friend. And for the people who are assisting us too, I am a medium. I channel. I receive spirits. So I'm ultra sensitive. I observe what is in the air, you know, and I start to feel really bad. You see, I start to feel really bad with the coronavirus tragedy in the world. You see, there's so much pain. There's so much souls leaving abruptly the planet. There's a lot of sorrow. There are despair, not only because of the health problem, but because of economic problems, political problems. There's a lot of pain in the earth right now. And I start to feel that, and that starts to hit me, you know. I start to feel like sad and starts to feel like discouraged. It starts to feel almost depressive. You see, I start to feel the weight of the pain of the humans now. And then I say, I need to do something. I need to do something. And then I started a diet we call Dieta Forte. It's a diet, it's a treatment with the Kambo medicine. The Kambo is the frog medicine, helped by my son that he developed a whole knowledge there with the ayahuasca. I did a 1 month treatment with the frog medicine. You see, that helped me so much. And I recorded in videos. I recorded the whole diet happening, the results, the treatments, the consequences, and even my own healing and the transformation that starts to happen in order to adapt it to the new times, so purification, see? And so I want to invite you to, I want to share with you this experience. I'm going to send you a link for our channel here. We have a Vimeo channel, and so you can participate somehow in the treatments and diets we are doing here at Céu de Guananche.
Thank you, and I really do sincerely hope I can get down there one of these days. So again, thank you very much. Perhaps you could.
You're very welcome, my friend.
Beg your pardon? I didn't.
You're very welcome. You're very
Okay.
welcome. Let's stay in touch.
Yes, and I got to make sure I get some of those links from you that I can put on this before. It'll be a few weeks before I will be putting this, publicly. So I want to get that information so I can add it in here. Okay?
Okay, perfecto. Yeah, you just WhatsApp me, and I send you right away the links.
Okay. Muito obrigado.
Nada, amigo. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Blessings. Blessings
Okay.
of hope from the phone. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye. I'm going to end it now. Bye.
Bye-bye.